Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anyway Whatever podcast. I'm your host, Mike Fisher, and today's guest is Hunter Martinez from the band Decent Criminal. He's also in the band Slaughter Boys, and he has another project. It's kind of like a superstar hardcore punk project, which you know I'm looking forward to if you listen to this show. Hunter's main band, Decent Criminal, I had only heard of because they were booked to play this what was supposed to be last year's punk rock bowling and music festival, which is a festival that me and my wife attend. And so I had heard of them, but I had never listened to them. And then I was very happy to hear that they were amazing. Like they came to me from their promotion company, and I didn't know what to expect. I spent the last couple weeks like listening to their last record, and they have a new one coming out, which is why he's on the show. But yeah, great band. Like I say in the interview, like if you went and saw Weezer and they were opening, they'd be a perfect fit. You could also go see like Street Dogs, and if they were opening, they'd be a perfect fit. They're a really cool mix of, a bunch of different kind of styles of underground music, and, indie rock and power pop and pop punk and street punk and, really cool stuff, like a really catchy band. I'll post links to their social media accounts and their Bandcamp so you can check them out. They're available on Spotify. Great band, and I'm happy that that Hunter was able to come in and talk with me. As always, if you are watching this on YouTube, feel free to hit subscribe and click the little bell so that you can get updates to all of the new episodes as they come out every single Wednesday. And, share, like, comment. If you are listening to this on the podcast version, subscribe, give us a review, wherever it is that you get your podcast content. That stuff is always appreciated. And of course, now we have a Patreon. So any support we get through Patreon is greatly appreciated and goes a long way to helping me make the show. And it is, the support that I get from my audience is always, it's humbling, and I totally appreciate it. So, we have merch and we have t-shirts through Warlord Clothing. Those links are down in the description below. Please feel free to check that stuff out. That goes a long way also to helping support the show. If you want to know how I create my show with my camera, my microphones, and all of that stuff, you can find links to all that gear down below as well. So yeah, check out this episode with Hunter Martinez of Decent Criminal. And great episode. Super nice guy. His bands are fantastic, and I think that you guys are really going to enjoy this. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anyway Whatever podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike Fisher, and today's guest is Hunter Martinez of the band Decent Criminal. What's up, dude? How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. Hunter's representatives reached out to me, and we were talking a little bit before we got going, and I was saying that I had heard of Decent Criminal primarily from, you guys did punk rock bowling, did you not?
We got announced on it. We were supposed to do it, but that was when
the pandemic one.
Yeah. The pandemic hit. So
yeah, because me and my wife we go to punk rock bowling and we go to Psycho Las Vegas. So that's like a couple of vacations we do every year. Nice being in LA, and you can get to Las Vegas in like a few hours. But so I'd heard your band's name, but I hadn't really listened to it. And so I spent the last week or so listening to that, to the Bliss record. And then you have a new digital single, which I think is off of a record you have coming up.
Yeah. The new 7-inch, simply called DCEP. It's 3 songs that we recorded last March now. So it's almost been a year since we actually went to the studio and recorded.
Yeah, that that seems to be the case with a lot of people. They have either stuff that was finished and they didn't know what to do with, or everybody wrote like 3 records in the last year because there was nothing else to do.
Right.
Yeah, so I spent some time with your band in the last week or two getting familiar, and that I like really liked that Bliss record a lot, which was your last full length that came out in 2019. That's a great record, man.
Thanks, man. I'm glad you dig it. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was like trying to figure out. It's like it sounds familiar in that you're like, God, this sounds like a lot of bands that I love, but you can't really put your finger on like, it sounds just like this band. And I was
Right.
trying to sort out, and I was like, well, if you went and saw Weezer and they were opening, they would be a perfect fit. But if you went and saw Street Dogs and they were opening, it'd still be a perfect fit. And those are like 2 totally different bands.
I agree, man. And you know what? There's so many people that say it to me all the time. Like, yeah, like you guys remind me of these different styles and these different bands, but I can't really pinpoint exactly what it is. And I think we can make a set list for opening for either of those bands and be totally and fit perfectly, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, like 90s alternative power pop punk stuff. It's like it's a really good mix of a lot of stuff that like just makes you feel good. Like the reason that you like music, that kind of stuff.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminded me of like I'm a little older than you. Like when I say that, like you are my kid's age, and
Right.
but it reminds me of like walking into like the cool record store in your neighborhood, and like that would be what would be playing. Like all the people who work there would love this band, and then you'd be like, "Who is this?" And then that just kind of gave me that feeling.
Oh man, awesome. Yes, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. So with the new 3 song, I was doing a little reading up on the band, and you and your brother Tristan are how long have you been in it? Have you both been in it the whole time, or?
Yeah. We started this, God, it's coming up on like 6 years now. We started it up after I had the same band name, but a different band. So this is kind of confusing. And when that fell apart, Tristan and I were just like, let's start something completely new. And I was playing guitar and singing before. So I switched to drums, and then we just started writing songs together. And, but we kept the same band name. So it's pretty confusing for some people that they can't grasp that. But yeah, it's been like 6 years, and we started it. And then, Brian joined, and then our original bass player, Alex, who we lived in Santa Rosa with, joined, and that was the start of the band.
That's awesome. So, how long were you guys in NorCal before you kind of migrated south? How long was it like in the restructuring of the band, or?
It was a couple of years before we moved down to Southern California. We initially moved down to Long Beach, I think after 2 years of being in the band.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we've been like back and forth due to touring and needed to stay with friends and family and stuff in between. And then, yeah, for the most part, we've stayed down in Southern California, and we recently moved to San Diego, in June this last year.
Yeah. Like did the whole band, or just you and your brother, or?
Just Tristan and I.
So the other guys are still up in LA.
Yeah, Jesse lives in Ontario.
Okay.
And then Brian, he's up in the Bay Area still. He's in San Rafael.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, all my family's still up in the Bay Area, so I grew up there, and I know it pretty well. So it's a 3 song. Do you guys have plans to do another full length, or?
Yeah. It's 4 songs on the 7-inch.
Oh, okay.
But it's one of the songs. It's just an acoustic version of Bazaar that Tristan did. And that's exclusively on the 7-inch. We're not going to put that on any streaming services. Cool. But yeah, we're actually about 10 songs in for the next record, and we were talking. I think this summer we're going to head into a studio and start dishing out the 4th record.
That's awesome. Did you put out any records with the original with the original lineup? Or
My high school band?
well, whatever this Decent Criminal was before you restructured it, was there any?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
stuff? I'd be interested to hear it.
It's it's funny, man. I don't think I have anymore. I think we made like 200 or something of each CD, but we did 2 CDs. And we did, I think we did an EP too towards the end. It was kind of it got kind of fuzzy towards the end, to be honest with you. But yeah, so we just did CDs and we toured a little bit. And then the real version of Decent Criminal, I like to call it. I like to say that we're starting over and this is the real band.
Right. I like that. That's a good way to look at it. You have, I'm trying to remember your whole output. You have 2 full lengths and an EP.
We have this. We have 3 full lengths. We have a self-titled one,
okay,
which came out through a small label out of the New England area, Endless Bummer Records. Pressed that, and then we did Bloom, which was through Dodgeball Records, and then Bliss was Wiretap and Bearded Punk out of Belgium, and then this EP is through Sell the Heart out of the Bay Area and Gunner Records.
So. Cool. Yeah, I think Bloom and Bliss were the ones that I've listened to, and yeah, again, they're really good. I am happy to have put them into my music library. And if anybody, a bunch of my listeners, I do a weekly playlist, like my art studio playlist that I've been doing for years on Spotify. So every Friday there's like 2-3 hour playlist of whatever it was I was listening to in the art studio while I was working during the week. And so this week and last week had songs that I just like always pick like 2 songs from whatever record I was listening to. And so you're you've made a couple appearances on my playlist the last couple weeks. So anybody who listens to the podcast and also listens to the my Spotify playlist, you can find those songs there, or you've already heard them.
Nice.
So yeah, Punk Rock Bowling, that would have been a good one. I would have definitely seen you at that.
Yeah, we're still planning on doing it. I know they just made another announcement for it being in September, I think, this year.
Yeah.
So hopefully it can happen, because we'd love to do it.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's hoping that all of these things can happen.
That's true. Not just Punk Rock Bowling, everything.
Yeah, I mean, I have reservations and tickets for Psycho Las Vegas too, and like, it was supposed to be in August, and I was like, shit. And now I don't know if they've announced that they are going to try to do it, but they haven't said if they're going to try to do August, September, whatever. But they'll have to do it a little bit off of Punk Rock Bowling, because I gotta go to both.
Right. Yeah, man. I don't even know. I don't know if we want to even get into that, vaccines and whatever else. But
yeah,
whatever happens, I just hope it all happens real quick.
Yeah, it seems like things are speeding up in general. Well, I mean, we'll see. Again, who fucking knows? Who knows? This has just been such a weird year in general. Like, hopefully 12 months from now, we're like, woo. Wow, I'm glad that's all over with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Touring wise, like you guys, I mean, obviously before the lockdown, you guys were like, you were touring and stuff. What bands have you guys gone out with?
Oh man, we've done a lot. We were supposed to go out, and eventually it's still going to happen, where we're going to go out with a band from Manchester called Aerial Salad. That's a band you guys should check out. They're fucking great. They just put out a really good record this last year.
Last week, my guest from last week was a Manchester band called Pins.
Okay, sick.
Like all female band. And their record Wild Nights it's also one of those, like, if you walked into a cool record store in the 90s and heard it, you'd be like, what's this? This is awesome. They kind of changed sounds a little bit in the last couple of years, but they did a song with Iggy Pop and shit. They're one of my favorite bands. They're fucking awesome. You should check them out.
Okay, Pins. Yeah, man, we've toured with a lot of bands. We tour with the Dwarves. We tour with the Queers. Uh, let's see, Bomb Pops,
Oh yeah,
Bad Cop. There's tons of bands, man. Obviously
that's
not
awesome.
coming to the top of my head right now.
No, I don't mean to
But
put you on the
I'm
spot.
like, dude, there's so many bands, and I can't fucking think.
um,
But yeah, Toy Guitar, if you know them,
I'm not familiar
uh,
with them.
they're great. Direct Hit, a lot of Fat Records bands. We're friends with a lot of bands out there on that label. Bracket, if you know them.
Yeah, I've heard of Bracket.
Bracket.
I'm sure I've heard them. I can't pull up anything in my mind of what they are, but yeah.
Yeah. Western Settings, another good band from San Diego. Good friends of ours. Then we've done a lot of solo trips. We've gone on tour a lot on our own, and
That's a lot of touring for 6 years. Just what
pretty
you mentioned right
dude.
there. That's a lot of time on the road.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring up like Teenage Bottle Rocket, Make Wars, like all these bands are like fat bands, the Flatliners, you know.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, man, we try to do as much as we can, you know, and a lot of the times we've been on our own, and I think it's been cool to do that on our own, and it's also been a real pain in the ass.
Yeah, touring is a pain in the ass. It's like the difference between touring in America versus touring in Europe it's insane. Like any band that has ever done both places would be like, why do American bands get treated so shitty comparatively? You know what I mean? Even if you're like not drawing more than like 50 people in Europe, they'll still like to feed you, they'll give you a place to sleep and take a shower, and you know.
Yeah, and
it's
some
crazy.
venues are government funded too, so like they make sure everything's set for the bands. You know, they have band lofts and stuff like that, and
yeah, it's amazing.
we spent 4 weeks out there the summer before last and fucking had the best time, you know. And again, on our own, like our first time out there touring on our own, and it was nothing but great.
Yeah, it's the European tour experience for punk rock bands is killer. It's so killer. But in America, it's like you get nothing. You're lucky we let you play in our venue.
And it also means that much more too when you get to a venue or you meet people that are just like so nice here, because then you're like, shit, hell yeah, this is what it's all about. You're like just completely pumped.
It does make the experience that much better. It's just weird that you kind of have to rely on your fans and friends to take care of you in the States more than the venues. Not to shit on American venues. We just have a weird business model for live music in the United States, and you know they kind of have to do it how they have to do it too. I get it. I'm not holding the venues responsible. I'm holding the whole system responsible.
we're very fortunate in that sense too, is that like we've gone out so much on our own that we've met so many bands and so many friends all over the States that like I know we could go out and we have places to stay, and people are always so welcoming and so cool. And it's the same thing. Like if bands come through here, it's like, you know, always have the door open for them, you know, always have that connection with friends and bands all over.
Well, I think that's the greatest gift that being in the punk rock life will give you, whether you're in a band or not, is the friendships, you know, like you get there. Everybody, there's just you always have friends no matter where you go. If you are in, you know, if you're in the punk scene, and you know, when you're in a band, you get like, you know, 10,000 times more friends, because then you have that many friends in every city you go to, and every time you're back, you're like, it's amazing. That's like the coolest thing about kind of just like the underground music scene in general. Is like, you know, there's the sense of community that you get out of it.
I talk to more people that I've seen on the road than family in like years. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of been the weirdest thing about this last year is like, oh, I'm so used to seeing these people 2 or 3 times, a year and talking, and it's just like, shit, I don't even know what I'm going to see. I better reach out and FaceTime you or something.
Totally, totally get, yeah, like that. I'd say that, I've kind of mentioned it on the show, so regular listeners will have heard this, but like, like I came up in the 80s, hardcore scene, and I remember my parents were just like terrified, like, oh my God, like, what the fuck is this? And like, just not like, cause there was no timeline for them to be able to go on. Like I was in it from like kind of when it was starting. And so there was no
Right.
like, well, this has been around for 30 years and it's, we know what punk rock is. It was like, like all the bad guys in movies and TV shows were punks. And so they were like, what's going on with my kid?
Yeah.
And then like my mom listens to this show and, she's like told me like, if I had known 35 years ago how much this would mean to your life as a human being, like as you've grown and like what it's given to you, I would have never have imagined that would be the case. And she's like, I would have left you. I would have left you alone and let you do your thing.
That's funny, man. That's
yeah,
funny.
yeah. So it's like, the friends, like, I'm working on, I had a guest on who is on the board of Punk Rock Saves Lives.
Oh,
And we
cool.
talked about that a little bit. And then I am supposed to have the guy who founded Punk Rock Saves Lives. But my friend Adam, who is the guitar player for the skate rock band, The Faction, I just did the album cover for their greatest grinds record. And then like he kind of revived his label. And so now I'm working on a compilation for Punk Rock Saves Lives.
Nice, man.
And
That's awesome.
and it's like, to be able to like, like this is a thing that came out of the punk rock scene is like, it's like literally a charity that helps keep people alive. Like, it's like, that it's just crazy. Like how just the entire punk scene like has like grown over the last 40 years. It's just such a weird huge part of the world now that used to be like that big.
I know.
And it's because bands like yours like go out and you tour all the time, and and then it's a constant addition of of new people and fans and bands and art and all that stuff. It's keeps giving back to me, man.
It's huge, man. No, it's huge, man. It's definitely been the biggest thing in my life, no doubt about it. And I know we were talking about it before we got on the air about it, but it's like, in between so many tours, I lived on people's couches, floors, fucking kitchens, you know what I mean? Just to do this and just to do it all the time and like, and try and do it all the time. And, I wouldn't take it back for anything. This is my life, and I love fucking just doing it all the time. And all the friends that always, keep pushing me to do it, keep helping me out along the way. It's crazy. And I was going to tell you too, that I don't know if you saw the video for Bizarre that we just put out.
Any of the videos. No,
it's just like, I sent this cheers of beer to friends on just took like recorded myself a short video on my phone and then sent it to all my friends that I would usually see, in a year of touring, and a bunch sent back, and we were just like, fuck it, let's turn it into a video. So that's like the whole thing, is everybody cheersing with water or beer or, orange juice or whatever anyone had in their hand. I was like, just send it back. And, a lot of people are sober, a lot of people, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's beer or not, just say what's up. And it was a good thing to do. It was good to see all the friends.
That's a killer idea, dude. That's a great concept. I'm gonna check it out as soon as I'm done with this, and then maybe when I'm doing promo for the episode, cool. I'll probably post a link to it somewhere so people can see it, because it's a great song, and then that sounds like the video concept's really cool. I'm gonna check it out.
And then I know this is gonna air probably in a little later, but our new song Reap comes out tomorrow. And we did like a short video, in Santa Rosa in our hometown with a couple friends. And again, we're it kind of seems like we're just this party band because we're just like drinking in a parking lot with our friends. But really we're not. It's just like we're kind of just celebrating the fact that we even got to see any friends at all.
Yeah, that's fair.
And same thing with Bizarre. It's just like bummed out at home. Like I'm gonna send this cheers to all my friends that I don't get to see, you know. So but yeah, so Reap comes out tomorrow, and
awesome. I'm definitely gonna check that out.
Check out the videos if y'all are into it.
For sure, man. And I will. I'm not really bad about being able to call information when I'm on air with somebody, but
no worries.
Your episode will be out before the EP is, so it's like
cool.
a couple weeks from now. It's like there's like I think maybe 2 weeks from now, so not that far. I'll record people and it'll be quite a bit of time before, but I knew you guys had this EP coming out, and I wanted to get your episode out before or at the same time so that you could actually promote the thing.
Nice. Yeah. March 5th.
Yeah. I think yours is, I think it's out. Your episode's gonna be out on March 3rd. So like nice. 2-3 weeks. Going back a little bit, like it's gotta also be super cool to do this with your brother, like to be able to have this life with your brother where you guys get to travel together. And brotherhood is a weird thing, and I'm sure that it's not always awesome, but it's, that just to have that somebody you always have that connection with has gotta be,
dude. Yeah. Awesome. I mean, I only started playing drums just because my brother got a guitar. You know what I mean? Like, and even though I didn't play for years, and then coming back to it, it was like, it just made sense that we should just be in a band together. Because any other thing we did without each other was just like, it's okay. And then now right. It's like, we make it a point to be in the same city or to live together and just to do it. And it just feels right. And it's natural. And sometimes when we jam, we don't even look at each other. We just know what we're going to play. You know what I mean? It's just like, we're just so, in sync together. So it's been the best. And it's also been, I'm sure the guys that get annoyed with us when we fight on the road, but it's going to happen no matter what. But yeah, man, it's truly been, it's the best thing just to be like, I know we can go jam anytime together and write together, tour, and do everything,
Are you guys pretty close in age?
Yeah. Tristan's 3 years older than me. So he's 32 and I'm 29. I just turned 29. So
youngsters.
Yeah.
You also said you recently started playing with the band Slaughter Boys, which is a band that I am familiar with and actually really like. Nice, is your brother involved in that, or is that just you?
No, it's just me.
And are you drumming for that band?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Casey, the guitar player, got a hold of me like a week before we moved here. I guess we had a mutual friend who just said like, "Hey, I know this drummer moving down to San Diego. You should hit him up if you're looking for a drummer." And he got a hold of me, and I listened to 2 songs, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's jam,"
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been good, and it's been definitely keeping my chops up between playing with them and then playing with Tristan here, and then sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish.
Oh, I was just gonna say that the other project that I kind of told you about before, the new kind of hardcore thing I started doing, Tristan plays bass on it with me, which is really cool.
Oh, cool. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I want to check that out. That sounds really cool.
Yeah. It's called Human Issue. And it's still in the mixing process. The album's still getting mixed, but it has like a bunch of different people on it. And Brian actually from Decent Criminal sings on a couple tracks with me, does backups, and my friend Crow Jane sings on it. Rick Agnew from A Million Bands plays
a little band called The Adolescents, like
a little band called The Adolescents, and Christian Death and everything. Yeah, my guitar hero. But yeah, so he's on it, and Brian Lothian from a band called The Global Threat, he sings on a couple tracks with me, and my friends in the band Hate Shells and Western Settings are on it, playing on it, and it's just like a bunch of different people, a bunch of my friends, a bunch of people that I really like have on the recordings with me. So it's like it's just been kind of a work in progress with this hardcore thing, and it was cool that Tristan played bass on it too, you know.
That's awesome. That's quite a all-star kind of conglomeration of people on one record. I was telling you that I'm kind of in the middle of the same type of project with like a grindcore band that I'm doing with,
That's killer.
Like members of, Exhumed and members of Sorrower and Impaled and
dude, sick.
Phobia and Grave Hill and like all these like all these crazy death metal dudes are like, yeah, let's do it. And it's like, it was just like a joke. It started as a joke. Like, would it be funny if there was like a grindcore band that was only songs about Van Damme movies? And then everybody's like, yes, that would be. And I want to do it. And I was like, fuck, all right, I guess we're doing it. Yeah, but dude, I'm looking forward to checking out that rap record. What's it called?
It's called Human Issue.
Human Issue. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Dude, I was going to ask you, being from the Bay Area, were you familiar with Capitalist Casualties?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Nice. My last band, DIS, we did some shows with Capitalist Casualties. I love that band. They're really good. Really good power violence grind band. Yeah, that's like man. Love that stuff.
Okay, cool. That's cool. You guys play with them. I was gonna say that. I think that's right up your alley.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the things that is another thing that's cool about kind of having been around this stuff for so long is like, I started with bands like Devo and, kind of new wavy type bands. Cause I was too little to like find real punk rock bands. Like I knew that there was a band called Black Flag, but I had no means to get to them because I was like 11 years old or whatever. Right. And so then I went into like, the American hardcore scene. And then right after that, like you got the crossover thrash metal stuff. And I was like, ooh, this is good too. Cause it's super fast. And then it just kept turning into more things. Oh, now we got death metal and now we got grindcore and now we got, power violence and like all these different, you got street punk and you got, crust punk and like just like all these genres. And like, I have always just loved all of them. Like I never just decided on one thing. Like I'm only going to listen to, hardcore punk or whatever. Like I like everything under the umbrella. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like, I can listen to a band like, Decent Criminal and Capitalist Casualties and they could not be more different and enjoy them equally as much. That's
cool.
I love that about my life. And as I've gotten older, I've expanded it even more for sure. Like, my tastes have gotten even wider than that. And now I listen to like, I'll listen to like, you come into my art studio and you might hear James Brown, who I've always loved, but didn't always listen to. You might hear Miles Davis, like I'll listen to all different types of stuff. Oh yeah. It's crazy.
Dude, I recently got into that band Viagra Boys. They put out a really cool record. And then I was
commenting on that, I heard a song off of the new record and I was like, ooh, I really like this. And I listened to the whole record and I wanted it to be more like that one song I heard. But that Viagra Boys was cool. And I like that kind of like the band Idols. Like I am in love with the band Idols right now. I don't know if are you familiar with them?
Yeah. A friend of mine was kind of getting me hooked on that for a minute. That's kind of where I went to, like from Idols to Viagra Boys. And then I was going to tell you, it was like 1 week, like half the week, I'm just stuck listening to the Viagra Boys new record. And then the next couple of days, I was like, for some reason, I never really dug into Neurosis before. Mm-hmm. And it was like, which is stupid because it's total Bay Area, like right in my face. But then I'm like, what the fuck? What have I been missing out on? Like, this is powerful, And
those early Neurosis records like changed the world, like literally changed the world. Like they created whole genres of music. And I actually grew up with Steve Untill from Neurosis. Like we came up in the scene in the same time. And it was like we were going, I was going from being like a kind of a Mohawk punk to like listening to more metal. And he was going from like the thrash scene into like more punk stuff. And our paths crossed and he was in a band called Transgressor, like a thrash band, and I did a bunch of artwork for them, and he recorded my 80s band. Like he recorded our demo because he had like an F4 track and like he recorded it for us. And when Neurosis started, they were kind of just like a crust band, and then then they they changed up the style and they did, they literally changed music. They're
listening
amazing.
through too is like Pain of Mind, and then it just keeps getting like different, more like every record is pretty fucking different, moving up. It's like, holy shit, this is sick, and it keeps you definitely interested in wanting to hear the next record and where they go from there. So just respect, and I always feel bad because I feel like I'm so late to the party on so many of these bands.
I mean, I don't think it matters. I mean, any kind of gatekeeper who would give you shit about that, go fuck themselves. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You find the things you find when you find them. But going a little bit back to Viagra Boys and Idols, and being an old man that I am, and having seen all of these different versions of punk rock kind of spring up over the years, I wasn't sure that there would be a way for punk to change, and for there to become a new type of, or a new version of punk rock. And I mean, bands like Idols, they don't like to identify as a punk rock band, but they're like, they do punk rock in a way that is clearly punk rock, but doesn't sound like any other punk rock band ever. You can't put your finger on it. They're amazing. Right. And the Viagra Boys are the same way. And I love that, like, now I get new punk rock. Like, I get a new version of it that I never had before. And it's like, it's I never thought I'd be excited about something like that.
I mean, to even talk about Criminal too is the same. Like, I feel like we've never identified as a punk band, but yet we always play with punk bands or on festival, like punk festivals,
sure,
sort of thing. So it's kind of funny that we get kind of tossed in that. And then you'll hear like one of the songs, well, Reap and Drifter. I feel like the Bizarre song sounds like it could be on Bliss, the last record.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Drifter and Reap are two totally different styles of the band. And I think it's like with our band, I can speak about for sure. But I think those other kind of bands we're talking about, it's like just feeling there's no fucking boundary anymore. And who cares? Like, what is, like I know after a while we got tired of saying like, no, we're not a punk band. But it's like, really, it's like, I don't give a fuck what you think. If you dig it, you dig it. Like, we're just going to keep coming up with songs and playing songs that we like. So call us whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that definitely, when I was listening to your band over the last couple of weeks, it was like, there are moments where you're like, this is definitely punk. And then there are moments where you're like, well, and now it's just like good rock music. I agree with you though. Like I think that's amazing. You know what I mean? Like, as a person who's been in this for and seen all of these things come about, to see bands like yours who are doing something with it that it's like completely rewiring it, and then like Idols and Viagra Boys are doing the same thing and totally rewiring it. And the genres start crossing over so much nowadays. Like, we get a band like the Hives where they're like, they're definitely a punk band, but they're definitely also a rock and roll band, and they're also definitely a garage rock band. Like, I love that shit, man. I love seeing that kind of thing. So I think that's one of the reasons I probably so quickly hooked onto your band, is I was like, oh man, these guys are like pulling it in from all four corners on their influences, and it shows, and it makes for outstanding music. It's so catchy. Thank you, catchy. Man. It's crazy. I can't wait to hear the new songs. Especially if you're saying they're a little bit different. I'm curious now to hear how different they are, because you are right that the single that you have out now that did on Spotify definitely sounds like it could have come off of the last record, and I'm curious to see where you guys have gone.
And what's really cool for us too is that, like, I mean, Jesse and I write stuff too, but the primary songwriters are Tristan and Brian, and they both write different style songs. So I think that's kind of like a really cool thing to our band, is like Brian's got this idea and then Tristan's got this too. So we kind of either put them together or just say, fuck it, sounds like this. So have it his song be like this, and then have yours be like that. And we kind of just throw it on the record, throw it on the track listing anyway. And like, great. Like we have two different kind of style songwriters going on. And I think it's awesome. Cause to me, it's like, I've just been a fan of these guys for a long time, growing up and hearing them write songs and be in other bands. So
what other bands has Brian been in? Brian Gelman plays guitar and sings, and then Alex plays bass and also sings. What other bands have those guys been in?
Alex isn't in the band anymore.
Okay.
Jesse is the new bass player, and he was in a band called Casket before us, and a band called Old Rivals. Alex plays in that band I mentioned earlier, Toy Guitar.
Oh, okay.
Which I think you'd really like.
I'll check them out.
And Brian was in a band called Snag from Santa Rosa, this hardcore band. It was fucking killer. And he's in a band now called M Section.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tristan had a band when we were growing up called Violation, and that's also very, very hardcore. So definitely get some good stuff.
Well, I spent a lot of my life in that world, so yeah, I'm gonna check those bands out for sure.
Nice. Yeah.
So everybody contributes writing to the Decent Criminal stuff? It's like all four of you?
Yeah. Everyone kind of throws in ideas.
Because you play guitar too. Like you originally played guitar in the band, and then you switched to drums in like 2014 or something like that.
Yeah. I write some riffs here and there. It's kind of funny though too, bringing that up to my brother who's just such a ripping guitar player. I'm like, hey, what do you think of this riff, man? And he's like, oh, I can change it a little bit. You know what I mean? So sometimes I get a riff or two in there, but then I'm mainly there writing the song with him in the studio, helping with like the structure or stuff like that.
Do you guys ever do you guys always do in studio recording, or do your own stuff? I talk to bands a lot nowadays who are like, yeah, we just learned how to do it ourselves, and they don't really go to recording studios to record stuff. Like they'll build a studio in their house and just record all their own stuff there. Or do you guys always kind of book studio time?
Yeah, we're always booking studio time. But what's really cool now is just being able to do our own demos, on our phones and stuff, and sending it back and forth. And that's kind of how this, like I was saying earlier, it's like we got 10 new songs for the fourth record. And I think we're going to try and belt out another 10, get them all ready and demoed to send to each other. But yeah, it's been super convenient to just have a computer or a phone and just sit in there and just being able to throw demos back and forth at each other.
Totally. Yeah. Like for that project that I'm working on, I'm just going to record the tracks will get sent to me, and I'm just gonna use my podcast setup to record all my vocals. Cause somebody involved in it was like, well, how are you gonna, you gonna book studio time? What are you gonna do? And I was like, no, I'm just gonna put my mic and my preamp in the closet and fucking go for it. I can record myself now, And he's like, right. Oh shit, I forgot about that. You have a whole professional recording setup. And I was like, hello.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's super cool, man. Yeah, I don't know. There is something about, especially recording drums, and we've always because this EP we recorded all in the same room, which was really cool. And I think
recorded live.
Reap is live.
Wow.
Drifter, I'm on my own. You got to hear. You'll hear it, but it's we sampled my own drum beat and looped it, and we fucked around quite a bit in the studio. But yeah, for the most part, we're all in the room jamming out ideas and jamming the songs together, which is the first time we ever done that. And since then, we were like, look, we just have to do it like that because it comes across, I feel like, so much better. It's a better view of what we are as a band.
Yeah, that's hold on. Anybody who listens to my show or watches the YouTube knows that I have an ongoing mosquito horror show in my art studio. And so I just had to kill
Is that what you were doing? I was like,
yeah.
What are you doing over there?
Yeah, it's a running goddamn problem in here. And I'm always like, And man, they love to attack me. Anyway, I don't think enough bands record live like that anymore. I think it always sounds so like it's noticeable, when a band does that. And I think it's kind of Steve Albini's like super famous for having bands do that.
Yeah.
And he did one of my favorite records from High on Fire, which is my favorite band of all time.
Oh, nice.
And he's one of those guys. He's like, any record that he does for any band is kind of going to be their best record.
Dude, I mean, what Pixies, what Surfer Rosa?
Yeah, I think so. Although I prefer Doolittle. For Pixies is one of those bands that I hated. Like all of my life, I hated the Pixies. And then in like the last 5 years, I've become totally addicted to the fucking Pixies. And everybody who knows me is like, the fuck is wrong with you, dude?
Well, dude, I mean,
I prefer Doolittle. Too. Doolittle's like, I think if you put Where's My Mind on Doolittle, I think that becomes probably one of the best 5 records ever recorded by any band ever. And true. I only say putting that song on there because that is the best song they've ever written. And it's the best song that they've written that's not on Doolittle. I listen to Doolittle. I love that record. It's so fucking good. I cannot explain to myself or any other human being why I didn't like them and why I now do. It is one of the most vexing things about my life over the last half decade.
Dude, well, I was gonna say, he did In Utero too, and I've recently been back on the Nirvana kick. So, and that one's just fucking. I could listen to that one front to back, all day, every day.
Oh yeah, that's if that's not the best record of the 90s, it's got to be in the top 5 for sure. I kind of was exposed to grunge rock before it became like a thing because my best friend worked at a record store, so he was getting all that stuff when Sub Pop was just like starting to, it's like he got like that first Nirvana like 7-inch with Dive on it, and he brought it and he's like, dude, you got to check this out, and we'd never heard anything like that. And so, like, I was never super into a lot of those bands, but Nirvana was always like, I was such a huge Nirvana fan. And In Utero, I think my favorite thing about that is that they had, they just put out like the biggest rock record in like 20 years or something. And then the next record, they're like, well, we're not going to use our newfound powers to make the record we want rather than some next hit record. I thought that was super cool and totally not unexpected from.
It sounds great, man. It's just such a great sounding, fucking great songs. I love it.
It's just so many different types of songs too. It's like there's like a traditional like classic kind of Nirvana song, and then there'll be some like, sounds like Big Black or something. It's like so many different kinds of stuff on that record. Yeah, I do love Nirvana. It's one of those weird bands that I hardly ever listen to them anymore. But now that you mention it, I'm probably gonna listen to In Utero later today. I have to work on this album cover for Punk Rock Saves Lives, and so I have to have something to listen to. So dude, I'll probably do that.
I play along to Scentless Apprentice all the time. That fucking drum beat's so sick. Just the whole song is so cool, and like at least once a week I play along to it.
I think that's the best song on that record. Personally, when it came out, I thought that. I was like, oh, holy shit. And then when I found out it was all Dave Grohl, I was like, oh. I was like, that's interesting. And then when Dave Grohl started the Foo Fighters after, I was like I immediately was like, well, he wrote one of the best Nirvana songs. I'll give this a shot. And it's another band. Like the Foo Fighters is one of those bands I don't really listen to. When I hear them, I'm like, that's probably the last chance for rock music, for like arena rock music in America is the Foo Fighters. I think them and Queens of the Stone Age are like the last 2 bands like holding out for the rock and roll.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's funny to think about that.
Yeah, isn't it? Like they're rock and roll's been pushed all back underground for the most part. Like it doesn't, like you turn on rock radio and it's either stuff from the 60s or it's like, it's like I can't recognize a lot of it. Like a band like Imagine Dragons, which is a rock band. Like I don't know. That's not like it's not how I want it to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'd ever go to a stadium to go see anyone play, to be honest. I do love Foo Fighters, and I love Green Day, and I love like Weezer and shit, but I don't know about going to a
I guess Weezer's still around, and so is Green Day, but
yeah,
I forget about them. But I didn't even know I can't even remember. Have Green Day put out a record recently?
Yeah,
Like,
they did last year. Honestly, I'm a big fan.
I'm a big fan of the first like 4 records for sure. Like, I can't remember which one was after Dookie. Was it Warning?
Insomniac,
Yeah,
which is perfect, I think.
Yeah, I'm totally, and I won't tolerate anybody giving me shit about liking Green Day. I'm all, fuck you. Those fucking records are really good punk records. Like, and I don't even like what they sound like now, which pretty much is exactly the same. Like, there was no band like Green Day on the radio when they came out. No band like Green Day. Like, they moved punk rock forward so much. And there's like all these punks in the world that were like, well, they're not a punk band. And it's like, why? Because it became a huge band. Like, go fuck yourself. I don't.
It's just great songwriting, man. Billy Joe's great with, his voice is fucking 1 in a billion. And there's a tight, great band. I mean, you can't really hate it. I can never hate it. Even I'm still such a fan that like the day the new album comes out, like I'd still go buy it, of course, and a lot of those bands I grew up listening to, it's like, dude, I'm there. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck it. I'll check it out first thing.
Yeah. I just remember that I designed a ton of t-shirts for them about like 10 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah. And then like, for me, same genre era group of people is like Rancid's my band like that. Like, I love Rancid. I don't even really like ska music at all. And I like every Rancid song. Like, I was unbelievably fortunate to get to do their tour shirts for, like 2019 for the tour that like, I went to Punk Rock Bowling and like half of the merch on the Rancid merch table was stuff I designed. I was like, damn, that's awesome.
Sick.
Like, I was pretty excited about that. And then they came back like for the fall tours, and I did tour shirts for the fall tours. And I've had stuff submitted for the tours that were going to be in this last spring, but and everybody had to cancel tours. So I think there's more Rancid stuff in
Nice.
shirts in the mix. And then,
oh, I'm sure
it's crazy. Like, I don't, not to talk too much about myself. I have a bad habit of that on this show, but like when I think about stuff like that, and I think about the fact that like, I started my first band when I was like 15, so that I would always have a band to draw stuff for, because that's all I cared about when I was a kid. Was like, I just want to draw art for punk bands. And then like staying at it, and just like, it became what I do for a living. And to me, it's like weird to me.
Dude, that's like, awesome.
I need to stop sometimes and think about stuff like that, and like some of the bands that I've gotten to do album covers for and stuff. And I'm like, fuck, crazy.
Dude, we got to talk, man. I want a new shirt design, dude.
I would absolutely love to. First of all, I love your guys' logo.
Cool.
Because it's like, to even go back a little bit to what we were talking about, like Nirvana. It's not that it looks like the Nirvana logo, but you wouldn't necessarily associate the sound of your band with the look of your logo, but it still totally fits, which I think makes it fit even more with your band, because that kind of is what your band is too. And I'd love to have that logo as something to work off of for something.
Yeah,
cool,
man.
For sure.
Please do. I was going to ask you too, because you said you had Bliss. Do you have Bliss on vinyl?
I do not. No, I don't.
Okay, I'll send you some vinyl and stuff once we get off there, and hook you up with some stuff, man.
I love it. I love it. We're about to like renovate our like living room kitchen area, and then like it's the entire thing is going to be focused around like a really killer sound system, and we're going to get like a really nice record player. So I am like actually collecting vinyl right now, because I know I'm going to have a nice record player soon to play it on. And so yeah, like that would be rad, dude. That would be super rad.
You got it, man.
I appreciate it. Indeed. Wrap up a little bit. Is there anything coming up with Slaughter Boys, or are you guys writing anything? Do you have anything in the works?
Yeah, we just finished up recording. Everything's just got done being mixed, and the record should be coming out soon. It's called Till the End of the Week.
That's awesome.
And
I'm
then
looking forward to that one.
Criminal, it's like, Brian and Tristan are always writing. So like I said, I know this summer we're going to hit the studio again. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the EP to come out. And then the Human Issue album, which is essentially going to be a 7-inch because all the songs are 40 seconds long or something.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. So I have 3 releases that I worked on in the last year, man. And I'm proud
amazing.
that they'll all be coming out at some point this year. So a lot of music from me and my friends. I'm excited about it.
That's amazing, dude. I appreciate you giving me your time. I always say one of my favorite things about making this show is I get new friends all the time. And so like glad to have sat and talked with you and got to know you a little bit, and all the stuff you got going on, and I'm looking forward to checking out all that stuff.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It's been good talking, man.
Yeah, for sure.
We gotta catch up again some other time.
Yeah, when you got something else, when you got something else to promote, please let me know, and we'll have you back in for sure.
Absolutely.
Cool, man. Thanks. We'll talk again soon.
All right, brother. Take care.
Yeah.